The story kicks off with a frustrated gang boss checking his smartphone, complaining that his meal is taking forever. Glaring at the app, he mutters about his late Chinese takeout and blames the total lack of work ethic in today's youth. Pacing around the warehouse, the crook reflects on how politicians and big corporations are scamming the public, and how honest hard work is a thing of the past. Gripping a baseball bat, he confidently claims that if everyone just gave it 100%, society would be booming. Then the guy turns and asks the hostage hanging upside down if he agrees with his flawless logic. Tapping the bat against his palm, the suit-wearing boss warns that he's just doing his job like a true, certified professional. The captive, on the other hand, was an absolute amateur, which is exactly why he made the wrong enemies and is about to meet a very unfortunate end. The henchman winds up to smack the prisoner, barking at him to hold still so he doesn't get taken out instantly. His strict orders were to beat the stuffing out of the captive before the grand finale, while muffled screams echo through the room. Suddenly, a delivery guy wearing a helmet kicks the door down like an action star, announcing that the food has arrived. The boss turns around, absolutely furious at the interruption, trashing the delivery guy for the ridiculous wait time and calling him a total loser. Completely thrown off by the scene, the mafia boss quickly demands to know who this weirdo is. After all, his guys were supposed to be guarding the perimeter, making it practically impossible for a random errand boy to just stroll in. The mysterious delivery guy just stares at the criminal crew, keeping his mouth totally shut. Cool as a cucumber, he simply places the thermal food bag on the floor. Adjusting his gear, the newcomer stays crouched next to his delivery box. With total chill, he starts counting how many thugs are in the room, leaving the boss absolutely bewildered. Tapping on his smartphone, the delivery guy tallies up 10 armed goons and tacks on a late-night hazard fee for each of them. The final math results in a pretty hefty surcharge, making the suit-wearing boss scream, demanding to know what the heck he's doing there. The delivery guy answers straight up, he's here to pick a fight. To guarantee he gets paid for his services, he clarifies that he'll have to beat the absolute brakes off the entire squad. The henchmen pull out their blades and corner the intruder, while he casually reassures them that the beatdown isn't personal. Finding the whole thing hilarious, one of the mafia members charges at him with pure rage. Spotting an opening, the MC lands a lightning-fast kick on his opponent. Keeping the rhythm going, he delivers a brutal elbow straight to the second thug's face. A third guy tries his luck, aiming a knife slash right at the helmet. Showing off some insane reflexes, the delivery guy catches the attacker's arm in midair. Right after that, he throws a straight punch that puts the goon to sleep instantly. With only the boss left standing, the delivery guy wraps things up by landing a devastating kick right to the leader's noggin. In a matter of seconds, the warehouse goes dead silent after the one-sided group smackdown. Standing among the knocked-out dudes, the intruder warns that he's on a tight schedule and needs to hustle to his next gig. Noticing the boss is still conscious, he taunts the guy, daring him to bring his A-game. The mobster struggles to get on his feet, groaning from all the damage he just took. Completely salty about losing, the suit screams, demanding to know the identity of this absolute monster. In the gangster's mind, it makes zero sense that a random delivery boy just solo-wiped an entire criminal faction. Panicking, he asks who funded the hit and exactly how much the operation cost. Desperate to save his own skin, the boss offers to double or even triple the paycheck to buy him off. The answer to his counteroffer is another brutal knee straight to the criminal's face. Staring down the defeated boss, the delivery guy makes it clear that taking bribes goes against his professional code of conduct. With the brawl officially over, he crouches down to loot the unconscious leader's pockets. Moving fast, the kid grabs his smartphone to snap a picture of a job well done. The camera flash lights up the warehouse the exact second he captures the fresh trail of destruction. Evidence sent, the delivery guy starts mapping out his next destination. Meanwhile, the tied-up hostage is wriggling around desperately, practically begging to be noticed. Pushing himself to the limit, the victim finally manages to rip off the gag, keeping him quiet. The captive grumbles about the lousy response time for his rescue and begs to be cut loose, feeling super dizzy. Seeing the delivery guy just standing there, the prisoner loses his temper and yells, asking if the kid is deaf. The young guy, however, calmly replies that rescuing people isn't part of his premium package. Turning his back to leave, the delivery guy couldn't care less about the panicked man who thinks he's getting left behind. Wanting to shut down the noise, the intruder slaps the duct tape right back over the captive's mouth. He casually lets the prisoner know that if he wants to hire him, he'll need to submit a formal request to the heavenly agency. Taking off his helmet, Lee Sang reveals his face and declares he's down for any brawl as long as the cash is right. His daily grind isn't exactly a secret, he just accepts a gig on his smartphone app. Next, he cruises to the location and beats the living daylights out of his assigned targets. And at the end of his shift, he collects fat stacks of cash as his prize. This whole career path started about 2 years ago, right when he decided to jump into this high-risk market. Walking through the school halls, the young man admits he's always had a wild talent for throwing hands. Considering he was just an 18-year-old kid, the profits from this underground side hustle were totally off the charts. Staring at his screen during recess, he keeps a close eye on his net worth. The kid's ultimate goal is to buy a fancy, high-end apartment in Seoul before he hits 20 years old. Looking at his phone, Lee Sang realizes with a huge sigh that real estate prices just spiked again. Even though his bank account is looking pretty thick, the total amount isn't even close to what he needs for his dream pad. Stretching his muscles by the window, the young guy figures out that working a 9-to-5 his whole life won't be a walk in the park. Despite raking in crazy dough for a high schooler, the app's clients have totally ghosted him lately. Stressing over the dry spell, he considers picking up a temporary part-time gig to boost his income. Staring up at the sky, the young guy mutters angrily, practically begging the universe for a financial miracle. He was hoping for cash to rain from the clouds, but instead, a female student literally drops out of nowhere in front of him. Startled by the loud crash, he stares at the girl sprawled out in the school hallway. A massive school bully marches over, mocking the girl and telling her to eat a burger since she went flying from a tiny push. The big guy's sidekicks crack up, joking that their boss hits like a Mack truck but pretends to be gentle. Still on the floor, the bruised girl shoots a look of pure, concentrated venom at the gang of bullies. The oversized bully catches the glare and gets totally offended that she had the nerve to roll her eyes at him. Showing zero mercy, he lands another kick on the girl, telling her to face reality and stop playing tough. Embarrassing her in front of everyone, the cowardly attacker rubs it in her face that her dad passed away and left her with nothing but a mountain of debt. Shrinking back, the bullied student does her best to tank the hits since she has no way to fight back. The bully steps closer to the grounded girl, warning her that she should just give up and accept being his girlfriend. With pure hatred in her eyes, the student snaps back that she wouldn't accept his offer, not even if he paid her. Hearing that, the big guy and his minion get visibly ticked off by the student's sass. Out of nowhere, Lee Sang pops up in the hallway and orders the bully to apologize right this second. Confused by the sudden entrance, the sidekick asks what the heck the new kid just dared to say. The other goon instantly panics, warning his boss that this guy is bad news and they should steer clear. Trying to dodge a hospital visit, the henchman practically begs his boss to say sorry and get it over with. However, the big guy flat-out rejects the idea, declaring he has zero intentions of taking anything back. Glaring at the MC, the oversized bully asks if he happens to be the girl's boyfriend on a rescue mission. Keeping his cool, the delivery guy fires back, asking who the heck he thinks he is to make the rules. Furious at the disrespect, the coward whips out a pocket knife, trying to intimidate the young guy for holding eye contact. Blinded by rage, the attacker swears he's gonna poke the delivery guy's eyes out without a second thought. Before he even gets the chance to swing, the bully gets smashed into the wall by a devastating strike from a cleaning mop. Seeing their boss out cold, the underlings apologize on behalf of the girl and sprint away in pure panic. Watching them scramble, the MC grumbles that the apology should have been aimed at him. Right after that, the young guy tosses a business card, bonking the bruised student right on the head. Turning on his heel, he lets her know she can hit his line if she ever needs backup. As long as the cash is worth his time, the kid promises he'll beat the brakes off anyone and even throw in a discount. Still sitting on the floor, the girl stays quiet, just processing the crazy sequence of events. Picking up the paper, she spots the logo of the Heavenly Delivery Agency printed right on the card. The student just stares at the ad, while the high school goes back to its normal routine around her. With classes wrapped up, the students start their casual trek back home. By late afternoon, his smartphone clock shows it's a little past 18 hours or 6 p.m. Chilling on a wall, the delivery guy devours some fast food and complains about the total lack of jobs today. Taking in the sunset, he whines about how brutally hard it is to stack up paper. Enjoying the city skyline, the young guy notices the endless ocean of fancy high-rises built everywhere. Bummed out, he realizes he doesn't own a single one of those luxury units. Right on cue, the delivery app notification chimes, pulling his attention straight to the screen. Hyped up, the kid cheers as he sees a contract with an astronomical bounty of 10 million. Blown away by the crazy payout, he instantly checks the destination for this golden ticket. When he reads the coordinates, the MC's jaw practically hits the floor at the requested spot. The address is the majestic Gangnam Tower Palace, ranked as one of the most ridiculously expensive skyscrapers in the city. Parked at the entrance, the delivery guy stares up at the building in awe, not even able to see the very top. He admits he's always wanted to know what the inside of a super-rich place like this looked like. Moving fast, the young guy starts suiting up in his classic orange work uniform. Right after, he slaps on his dark helmet to keep his identity on the down low during the op. Adjusting his black gloves, the kid gets physically hyped for whatever is about to go down. For the first time in a long while, the intruder admits he's genuinely pumped to hand out some knuckle sandwiches. Meanwhile, a dude with a scarred face is waiting in the shadows, looking like a total nightmare. Walking through the luxurious halls, the delivery guy stays motivated just thinking about that giant paycheck. The elevator finally dings at the requested floor, revealing a space that is creepily quiet. Stepping out, the young guy figures the target must be a seriously high-maintenance person to live in a penthouse like this. Playing it safe, he unlocks and slowly pushes open the gigantic front door of the apartment. Standing in the doorway, the intruder announces loud and clear that the delivery is here, trying to bait anyone inside. But the place is pitch black, making the kid wonder if anyone is even home. Trying to get a visual, the intruder quickly switches on his own smartphone flashlight. The beam of light reveals a bunch of expensive vases and plants scattered around the apartment's lobby. Stepping in slowly, he sweeps the light across the massive living room that looks completely empty. Annoyed by the dark, the delivery guy complains that all this rich person clutter is blocking his view. Suddenly, a weird noise makes the kid freeze and quickly check over his shoulder. Sneaking around, several silent footsteps start closing in on the delivery guy from behind. Guys armed with blades and bats step out of the shadows, fully prepared to mess the intruder up. With cat-like reflexes, Lee Sang dodges a brutal bat swing by a hair's breadth. Taking advantage of the miss, he lands a bone-crushing punch right on one of the henchmen's faces. The goon gets launched backward by the sheer force, crashing right in the middle of the room. Standing frozen in the dark, the MC can't even process how absurd this whole setup is. Checking out the armed thugs, he quickly realizes these guys do not look like your average high-rise tenants. The kid complains that the client really should have given him an exact headcount of the enemies beforehand. Standing a bit further back, the mafia boss notices that this trespassing kid is definitely not who they were waiting for. Even so, he orders his crew to completely destroy the delivery guy once and for all, with zero mercy. Unbothered by the danger, Lee Sang sends another thug flying with a heavy kick right to the chest. Keeping his cool, he starts counting out loud how many bad guys he's dropped so far. Hearing that, one of the criminals goes wide-eyed, realizing the helmeted kid's strength is completely unreal. Fueled by rage, a second attacker charges in cursing, swinging a metal axe right at him. But the delivery guy simply grabs the guy's forearm mid-swing, blocking the hit like it's nothing. Right after, he unleashes a hyperfast combo of punches straight into the goon's chest. The attacker is sent flying across the room from the impact, slamming hard into the penthouse floor. Out of nowhere, the MC is forced to put his guard up to block a totally unexpected strike. A heavy, thick metal chain smashes into the young guy's block, making an ear-splitting bang echo through the room. The guy swinging the chain is a masked giant who's glaring at the delivery guy with pure killer intent. Casually checking his phone, the delivery guy just makes a mental note that opponent number 5 is down. Keeping the momentum going, he follows up with a sidekick that launches another henchman across the room. Right at that moment, the giant with the chain manages to lock up the delivery guy's arms from behind. Pinning the kid down, the giant compliments his speed, but brags that raw strength always takes the win. However, the behemoth gets caught off guard and starts sweating bullets when he tries to tighten his grip. Totally shocked, the giant freaks out at the kid's freakish power as his own fingers start getting crushed. Grossed out by the situation, Lee Sang complains that grown men hugging him from behind is weird and deeply unpleasant. With a lightning-fast flex, the delivery guy breaks the big guy's hold, making the giant scream in pure agony in the middle of the room. In the background, another goon holding a blade yells, asking why the giant is hesitating instead of striking. The MC, however, turns around while cracking his knuckles, aggressively asking if the punk wants him to come over there next. Faced with that kind of energy, the attacker completely loses his cool, cursing at the delivery guy while shaking in his boots. Outside the lavish penthouse, total silence rules the top-floor hallways. That is until a heavy crashing sound echoes out, proving just how wild the brawl inside really is. Letting out a tired sigh, Lee Sang finishes counting the seventh knocked-out thug, thinking that was the final one. Scattered all over the dark floor, the gangsters' bodies are completely out cold from the epic beatdown they just took. The young guy, however, realizes his math is off and announces that the job isn't wrapped up yet. He instantly dashes forward, throwing a high-speed punch, warning that there's still one person left to drop. The punch stops just inches away from the opponent's face, leaving the young delivery guy totally baffled. Standing right there without flinching, the person hiding in the dark is none other than the girl from his school. Completely lost, Lee Sang demands to know what on earth she is doing in this kind of mess. Staring back at him, the student sarcastically asks what made him think she wouldn't be here. Flashing her phone screen with the app open, the girl confirms she's the one who posted the $1 million bounty. Checking out the damage in the room, the girl points out that taking down trained hitmen probably wasn't a walk in the park. Seeing how he dropped every single target without taking a scratch or permanently unaliving anyone, the client confirms he's exactly what she needs for her plan. Still not grasping the situation at all, our hero just stands there staring at the student. Rocking a super serious face that's still a little bruised, she keeps her completely unbothered attitude in front of the delivery guy. Skipping the small talk, the student tells the young guy they're teaming up for this new gig. As the messy room clearly shows, the girl admits her life is in danger and she wants to officially rent his combat skills. While she promises the job will be exactly like his usual routine, Lee Sang mutters, demanding to know what kind of crazy talk this is. Trying to shut the conversation down, the kid drops the fact that he doesn't work full-time because it messes with his personal rules. On top of that, he brings up what the school bully said earlier about her family being totally broke. Based on that, the delivery guy advises the client to focus on how she's actually going to pay the bill for tonight's throwdown. Unbothered by him asking for his money, the student just calmly nods at his very valid point. Running out of patience, the delivery guy demands she fork over the cash right now, adding that he'll even take physical bills just to get it over with. Warning her about the extra hazard fees for the crazy fight, he demands a bigger payout, but the girl cuts him off, telling him to stop haggling. Suddenly, a massive brick of cold, hard cash lands smack in the delivery guy's hands. Seconds later, a bunch more stacks of bills scatter across the floor, creating a ridiculous fortune right in front of the kid. The MC freezes in pure shock when he hears her unbelievable offer of 100 million per completed mission. Ignoring his whole professional rules speech, the girl slings her backpack over her shoulder and says they both have exactly what the other needs. With the floor literally covered in money, the client promises everything will go smoothly as long as they stay on the same page. Holding the fat stacks in disbelief, Lee Sang asks if this insane amount of cash is actually legit. Completely hypnotized, he tries to process if he is really holding that ridiculous mountain of money. Noticing the kid's total mood shift, the student points out that he suddenly looks a lot more enthusiastic. Snapping back to reality real quick, the young guy looks up and announces he's got one last question. Cutting through the hesitation, the girl gets straight to the point and asks if he's in or out. Elsewhere, the dead of night brings total quiet to the empty streets after all the chaos up in the penthouse. Outside a bank, the automated teller machines are still up and running in the middle of the night. The delivery bike is parked on the curb while our hero tries to sort out his internal crisis. Lit up by the ATM screen, the young guy closely inspects one of the bills the girl handed him a few hours ago. Looking at the paper with major trust issues, he's trying to figure out if he just got pranked by a teenager. To settle the debate once and for all, the delivery guy carefully slides the bill into the machine. The machine sucks the cash in quickly to run its electronic counterfeit check. Sweating bullets over the result, the young guy glues his eyes to the glowing screen, waiting for the verdict. Heart-pounding, Lee Sang hopes with everything he has that the money is 100% real. The screen quickly flashes that the transaction is complete, confirming the cash just hit his account. Hearing the robotic ATM voice thank him for his business, the delivery guy freezes in pure disbelief right on the spot. Shaking with hype, the kid is having a hard time accepting that the fat stack was totally authentic. Flashing back to 2 hours ago in the dimly lit penthouse, the student was waiting for the delivery guy's final call on her offer. Looking completely unbothered, she pushed the young guy to quickly decide if he was going to sign up or walk away. Instead of giving a straight answer, the MC crouched down, surrounded by the massive piles of cash. Staring at the floor, he was struggling to wrap his head around the sheer absurdity of becoming a bodyguard for a classmate. Unable to turn his back on a payout that huge, he finally caved and sealed the deal with the student. But when he picked up one of the stacks, Lee Sang inspected the advance payment bills super closely. Furious, he threw the cash right back at the girl, calling his new boss an idiot for thinking he'd fall for a scam. Mocking her little stunt, he clapped for her acting skills, admitting she actually had him fooled for a second. Crushing the fake bills in his fists, the delivery guy let out all his anger over the girl's shady move. Getting right in the student's face, he declared he was absolutely positive the money was counterfeit. Judging by the smell and the texture of the paper, the kid swore it was the most obvious knockoff job ever. He even brought up her family going broke, blaming the student for trying to pull a fast one on him. After a second of silence, the girl threateningly asked if he was absolutely sure he wanted to walk away without regrets. As a quick reply, the MC spun around and flipped the student the bird. Walking toward the door, he let the fees slide out of pity but ordered her to act like she didn't know him at school. Jumping back to the present inside the bank booth, Lee Sang is having a full-blown panic attack realizing the mountain of cash was actually real. Out on the street, he screams in pure frustration, thinking about going back to grovel for the money, but his pride kicks in and says nope. Resting his forehead on the ATM, the kid actually sheds tears, wondering if he'll ever get another shot at becoming filthy rich like that. Until glancing at his phone screen, he instantly gets his groove back, promising himself that his lucky break is totally coming. The dashboard of a crypto app he threw money into a few days ago shows an astronomical profit that just keeps rocketing up. Completely blown away by the surprise, the young guy has no clue why the charts are going to the moon out of nowhere. Laughing like a total maniac, he cheers that investing is the new meta, yelling that he's gonna double down to buy his dream apartment. But in a fraction of a second, the green line tanks hard, causing an almost total loss of his funds, instantly nuking the kid's dreams of wealth. Completely crushed, the delivery guy ends up standing like a statue in front of a bank terminal on an empty street in the dead of night. Suddenly, the loud crash of shattering glass startles the few people walking around the block. Fueled by the pure rage of getting liquidated, the young guy just straight up punches the electronic machine with everything he's got. As the adrenaline wears off, he realizes the colossal screw-up he just made and lets out a terrified gasp. Getting locked up in handcuffs by the cops, the kid doesn't even care when the officers point out he's just a teenager. Once down at the station, the police officer asks what caused the meltdown and demands to know what school the kid goes to. Luckily for him, the cop mentions that the bank wasn't pressing hard charges, so he just needs to pay for the damages within a week to walk away clean. Hearing that, the MC goes into absolute despair, realizing exactly how deep in the mud he really is. Holding the repair bill, he stares in shock at the ridiculous fee of almost 10 million won for busting the ATM. Walking out of the precinct, the delivery guy drags his feet down the poorly lit city streets. With absolutely zero ways to come up with that kind of cash, the weight of the debt crushes him. The next morning, classes kick off right on schedule as the sun comes up. Looking completely wrecked from zero sleep, Lee Sang walks up to the student, trying to hit the reset button on last night's conversation. Before he even finishes his sentence, the girl takes control of the chat, asking for a second chance to pitch her $1 million deal. Standing perfectly still in front of him, the girl waits for the fighter's answer in total silence. Watching them talk, the school bully stomps over, super ticked off that the delivery guy had the nerve to show up. Glaring at the MC, the attacker declares the timing is perfect, since he was already hunting him down for some payback. The bully promises he won't go easy this time, bragging that he brought backup with actual combat experience. With exactly zero patience, the delivery guy grabs the coward by the face, letting him know they're about to finish yesterday's fight. Using raw strength, he slams the opponent's face straight into a school desk while the client just waits for his answer. Tossed into the desks, the bully howls in pain from the heavy hit he just ate. Watching his boss get wrecked, one of the sidekicks panics and charges in angry, asking if the kid has lost his mind. While effortlessly dodging the sidekick's wild swing, Lee Sang calmly explains that he just needed some time to chew on the girl's offer. Slipping the punch without breaking a sweat, the young guy explains it would be crazy to accept that kind of money without sleeping on it. Right after that, he knocks the rival out cold with one hit and announces he'll take the job even for half the original price. Dropping the last goon with an aerial strike, the delivery guy begs for a cash advance to settle an emergency debt. Leaving the enemies snoring on the floor, the MC reaches his hand straight out to his classmate. Completely focused on paying off that ATM repair bill, he practically begs her to hand over the contract so he can sign it right now. The student, however, keeps her poker face and raises her hand, telling the kid to stop embarrassing himself. Without saying another word, she just turns around and starts walking away, leaving the delivery guy completely lost. Panicking over getting rejected, the kid grabs the girl's shoulder, reminding her that she was the one begging for his help. Looking back over her shoulder, the young girl shoots him a death glare and warns him that he's got a major attitude problem. Keeping her strict vibe, she complains that the young guy has been acting incredibly rude this entire time. The student then demands he drop the ego and officially ask for the job with the respect she deserves. Noticing the other kids whispering about the drama, the delivery guy feels completely awkward in front of everyone. Refusing to wait around, the student threatens to cancel the deal, making the delivery guy groan in absolute humiliation. Swallowing his pride for the sake of the bag, Lee Sang drops to the floor in a super embarrassing, formal bow right in front of his classmates. With his respect levels fixed, the boss lady opens her bag and starts dropping the details on their target. Pulling hair clippers out of her backpack, she reveals that the main victim is none other than the school bully himself. The delivery guy's eyes bug out when he hears that the coward is about to get a payback way worse than just a beating. Meanwhile, far away from the school, the vibe is super chill at a fancy high-end golf club in the city. A bunch of guys in suits are kissing up to the company's CEO, clapping for a shot he just made. Resting his golf club on his shoulder, the tycoon looks completely unimpressed by his staff's fake hype. Turning to his crew, the boss asks in a scary tone if he looks like he's having fun, instantly shutting the security team up. Puffing on his cigar, the businessman mutters angrily, wanting to destroy anyone who gets in his way. Being the big-shot owner of a steel empire, the boss keeps ranting that society is full of worthless bottom feeders. Right in the middle of his speech, the phone in his suit jacket starts ringing off the hook. Pulling out the phone, the guy sees on the bright screen that his beloved son is calling. Doing a total 180 with his attitude, the tycoon answers with a big smile, already offering the kid an allowance bump. Through the speaker, the kid's crying voice begs for his dad in a state of absolute panic. Hiding out on a bathroom floor, the school bully is bawling his eyes out, saying he wants to completely ruin that female student. Hearing the girl's name, the executive's face drops, confirming she's the daughter of an old acquaintance. The kid then snitches, whining that the girl paid someone to beat him up and violently shave off half his hair. To make the embarrassment even worse, the crying teenager reveals that a pic of him knocked out with a shaved head got blasted all over the internet. Completely clowned on, the bully cries that he can never show his face at school again after that. Listening to his son cry, a dangerous killer vibe takes over the steel tycoon's face. Pushing down his anger, the rich guy uses a calm voice to promise he'll handle the situation personally. As soon as the teenager calms down, the millionaire hangs up the phone cold as ice. Staring out at the golf course, the boss stews over the girl's audacity to mess with his untouchable family line. Annoyed at his goons who are literally buried up to their necks in the dirt, he asks how they plan to pay for their screw-up. Furious at his team's failure, the suit trashes his henchmen for getting the absolute brakes beaten off them while trying to kidnap the student. With zero mercy, the boss lines up his next swing, using his henchman's head as a golf tee. With a lightning-fast swing, the tycoon smacks the ball with everything he's got, totally ignoring the buried guy's screaming terror. Watching where the ball lands, the rich guy spots a very weird dude walking onto the golf green. Carrying a gym bag, a delivery guy rocking a blue helmet strolls up, commenting on how complicated the sport looks. Flashing a cocky smile, the intruder guarantees he'd rather stick to his side hustle of beating people up for cash. Pointing his golf club at the biker, the bully's dad lets him know that's exactly why he called him here. Hearing that, one of the suited guards pops open a mysterious briefcase right in front of the mercenary. Showing off literal mountains of cash, the rich guy promises a massive bonus if the job is done perfectly. The kid's eyes practically sparkle looking at that insane pile of money that's just waiting for him. Drunk on the thought of that giant payout, the delivery guy starts laughing like a maniac, ignoring the serious vibe of the bosses. Finding the whole thing hilarious, he slaps the guard's arm and roasts them for doing deals with physical cash like it's the Stone Age. Holding up his smartphone screen, the kid explains that top-tier mercs these days lock in deals through an app. Pushing his luck even further, the intruder calls the whole crew useless, making the security guard grab him by the collar. Yanking the cocky kid closer, the suit tells him to shut his trap before they end him right there on the grass. Reacting to the threat, the delivery guy shoves the suit's face away with a super-fast push. Keeping his cool, Lee Sang warns the poor guy to never put hands on him again. The security guard stumbles back yelling, while the kid concludes that the whole crew is garbage because the boss is clueless. Checking his phone, the rich guy admits his mistake and announces he'll just pass the job off for Minjun to handle. Looking at his own screen, the delivery guy guarantees he wants to speedrun this mission as fast as possible. The millionaire warns him that the target hired a private bodyguard, while the app pops up with the student's profile. Focused on the bag, the young guy takes the new info very seriously. The boss promises he'll handle the cleanup his way and asks if there are any complaints. Lighting up a smoke, the millionaire says it's all good, as long as he cleans up the mess without leaving a trace. Making his choice, the MC hits the confirm button on his app. Totally hyped about the payday, the delivery guy locks in the contract instantly. The screen shows an absolutely ridiculous rate of 50 million for every completed target. Back at the school, Lee Sang checks the terms, pointing out that the contract is active until the job is done and the cash drops digitally. Pointing at the student, he makes it clear that he's strictly forbidden from taking side quests while he's on her clock. The girl nods and drops a new rule: he has to stick by her side 24/7 no matter what happens. Outside, the girl asks if the merc actually plans on keeping that promise. Surprised by the clingy rule, the kid stays totally quiet for a split second. Scratching his head, he mutters that promising to never leave her side sounds incredibly cringe. Letting out a heavy sigh, the delivery guy throws his hands up and finally agrees to the term. Looking his boss dead in the eye, he formally promises to be her shadow. Right on cue, the MC's phone pings with a new notification. Holding up the device, the student announces that from this second on, he is officially her exclusive hired muscle. Walking side by side, the kid mentally calculates his rent and food costs, feeling too awkward to ask for an advance right away. To work around it, he asks when the next gig is dropping, even offering to just deliver a regular burger. The girl stops in her tracks, confused, and asks where he's going since the school entrance is the other way. Straight up, the MC calmly explains that he's heading to work. Baffled, the boss asks if he seriously wants to skip class, but the young guy snaps back that he desperately needs his perfect attendance award. Walking to the parking lot, the delivery guy keeps complaining about how this is gonna ruin his flawless attendance streak. With no other choice, the duo hops on the bike and speeds off to start their new chaotic adventure. The school gates fade into the background as they ditch class to handle business. Inside a creepy, dark warehouse, a bunch of terrified students are huddled together, shaking in front of some thugs. Slouching in his chair, the gang leader stares at the hostages like they're total trash. Next to him, one of his goons points out how pathetic the captives look right now. The boss asks why everyone is shaking like a leaf, swearing he treated them super nicely. He mutters that the kids showed up on their own free will and doesn't get why they're acting like sheep at a slaughterhouse. Trying to get the room under control, the bully tells the crowd to chill out and warns them he's only going to say the rules one more time. Flexing his scary vibe, the criminal orders the girls to strip down immediately. He threatens to get violent if they ignore him, suggesting they just make it easy on themselves. Suddenly, the delivery guy pops up facing backward in the doorway, yelling that the food is here. Checking his app, Lee Sang double-checks the main target's ID and grade level. One of the thugs doesn't get why lunch is so early and tells the intruder to just drop the food on the floor. The leader, however, freaks out at the break-in and demands to know who ordered takeout using his name. Using the confusion to his advantage, the delivery guy blitzes in at full speed and delivers a crushing combo to the henchman. Landing in a fighting stance, the MC clarifies that the special delivery of knuckle sandwiches was actually for the leader. In just a few seconds, the thugs are knocked flat on the floor, begging for mercy to avoid taking any more hits. With the path clear, the boss lady's shoes echo through the dark warehouse. The student strolls in casually and asks if the job was handled correctly. Throwing up a thumbs up, the delivery guy smiles and confirms the speedrun was a total success. Without wasting a second, the merc grabs the knocked-out leader by the hair. He lifts the bully's completely busted face, trying to unlock his smartphone using Face ID. But the guy's face is so swollen and wrecked that the phone doesn't even recognize him, keeping it locked. Seeing that rookie mistake, the student lets out a huge sigh of pure disappointment. She complains that this is exactly why you don't aim for the face, asking if the kid has zero experience. In the corner of the room, the rescued victims whisper to each other, torn between running for the hills or saying thank you. Noticing the whispering, the boss lady demands the rescued group's attention with a serious look. Pointing at the victims, she orders the delivery guy to interrogate them and find out exactly what school everyone goes to. Right after, the young girl snaps her fingers to drop a harsh new rule on the students. Acting like a total boss, she orders the crowd to get on their knees facing the wall with their hands up. The girl swears she'll end anyone who drops their arms, while Lee Sang watches, thinking her power trip is kinda weird. Still completely lost, the delivery guy asks what kind of crazy game they're playing now. Checking her phone, the client tells him to step on it, since they still have a ton of spots to hit today. The team's next pit stop is the campus of Gujiang High. Inside the classroom, the students are super confused by the delivery guy busting in, especially since it's not even lunch period. With zero warning, the fighter smashes a metal tray right into the face of a bully they call Pimp. Job done, the duo snaps a pic for the app to prove the mission was completed flawlessly. Over at a different school, another bully is sprinting for his life down the hallways in pure panic. The target is absolutely terrified as he gets closer to the teacher's lounge. Kicking the door open, the coward screams for help, yelling that some maniac is beating the crap out of all the students. Before he even finishes his sentence, the delivery guy grabs the kid's face and aggressively slams him into the floor. While Lee Sang holds the target down, the student apologizes to the teachers, making up some lame excuse about them just playing tag. Another pick is taken, sealing the deal on the contract against the bully known as Pastor. The hunt doesn't stop, and the app approves the knockout of the terrifying mad dog at yet another school. Keeping the streak alive, the delivery guy chokes out the next target to log another finished job. The top dog of another school also pays the price and ends up on his knees doing penalty time after getting totally wrecked. Wrapping up the daily grind, the smartphone gallery is packed with pics of smashed bullies and cleared missions. A bunch of phones looted from the victims get tossed all at once into a metal locker. Right after, the student slams the locker door shut like she means business. She drops the news that they only have one address left on the route today and tells the kid to stay sharp. The delivery guy listens to his boss's orders without saying a single word. Chilling on his motorcycle, the MC asks if they're actually playing on the same team here. The student pauses for a second before asking what exactly he's trying to hint at. Lee Sang promises he'll follow orders, but complains that this deal has zero communication. Tapping his helmet, he suggests they should at least share the ultimate endgame of this whole operation. Cutting to the chase, the young girl makes it crystal clear that they are not a team and definitely not friends. Looking the young guy dead in the eyes, she explains that their bond is strictly financial, and either one can cancel the contract whenever. Because of that, the client claims it's standard procedure to keep secrets, since to her he's basically just a rented weapon. Even so, she holds up a device and admits she's collecting the phones to track down one specific guy's number. The student confesses that her ultimate goal is to drop the delivery guy right on that target's front doorstep. Right after, she casually asks if that explanation was clear enough for him. Exactly at that moment, a massive crash smashes into the motorcycle, sending Lee Sang flying violently through the air. Grabbing the student, the delivery guy slides across the concrete to soften the brutal landing. Lying on the asphalt, the kid immediately asks if his boss got hurt in the crash. The student, however, just swats the guy's hand away with a quick slap. Wasting no time, she hops to her feet, looking incredibly mad about the random ambush. The young girl keeps her guard up as she checks out the absolute wreck around them. Adjusting his helmet, Lee Sang groans that he is definitely feeling that hit. Staring at his completely trashed bike, the kid loses his mind, crying that he still had 28 payments left on that thing. Inside a nearby cargo truck, a blonde guy yells, pointing out that they are the exact targets they've been hunting. The crook insults the driver for failing to flatten the duo and asks if the old man even wants his cut of the money. The old guy at the wheel apologizes calmly, making the excuse that he's a little rusty from being out of the game for so long. Opening the truck door, the old man tells his passenger to hang tight in the cab for a second. Right after, he slowly pops the latches on the back of the cargo truck, taking his sweet time. Swinging the back open, the driver announces he's going to handle business and ship the targets straight to the blonde kid. In the middle of the street, the crash completely smashed the screen of one of the confiscated phones. Checking the devices, the boss lady is super annoyed to see that every single phone they collected is in tiny pieces. The young girl squints, showing some serious rage over the giant mess they just stumbled into. Looking at the side of the truck, she complains that out of all the delivery companies in the city, they just had to run into Gadu. The boss warns Lee Sang to stay hyper-focused, pointing out that this is definitely not your average Amazon driver. While the driver digs through his boxes, the biker gets the old man's attention by taking an aggressive stance. The MC demands the guy pay for the ruined bike right now if he doesn't want to get put in the dirt. Ignoring the threat completely, the old guy keeps digging through his cargo and mutters that the first tool isn't quite right. He tosses aside a bunch of other items, whispering that none of this gear is meant for a job like this. Until finally, the old man grabs something buried deep in the back and looks super happy with his choice. Pulling out a massive case, the guy mentions he hasn't used this bad boy in ages, but today is the day. On the other side, the delivery guy keeps ranting that his ride was a limited edition he bought just 2 months ago. Absolutely furious, the kid threatens to sue him for emotional damage on top of the repair bill. Suddenly, the old man lunges forward with crazy speed, destroying the exact spot of concrete where the young guy was standing a second ago. Holding a giant spear the driver sighs, admitting he totally forgot how to control the power output of this weapon. Flashing a creepy smile, the attacker lets the kid know he only survived because the strike missed by a tiny fraction of an inch. Gripping his hands tight, Lee Sang listens to the old guy say he won't last long in this business with that kind of attitude. The MC stops the massive spear using purely his arms, shattering the concrete under his shoes from the insane pressure. Red liquid starts leaking through the kid's gloves as he stays completely silent and locked in. Chuckling, the old man says he totally gets the kid's urge to show off since his adrenaline is pumping. The driver claims he's watched countless young hotheads catch a one-way ticket to the grave because they couldn't keep their ego in check. Keeping his rock-solid stance, the delivery guy dares his opponent to try that swing one more time. The kid admits he misjudged the reach of the weapon, but swears he's going to block it perfectly this time. Hearing the disrespect, the old man's eyes instantly lock into full-blown killer mode. Repeating that showing off only gets you destroyed, the old guy goes on the offensive, spinning the spear at max power. The weapon comes crashing down on a devastating path right toward the biker. Finding an opening, Lee Sang cocks his fist back, ready for the impact. Throwing a super heavy punch, the young guy completely shatters the wooden end of the enemy's weapon. The driver's eyes go wide, frozen in absolute shock at the freakish power the kid just dropped. Looking at the splinters, the MC calmly announces that he's finally caught the rhythm of the fight. Dusting off his uniform, he repeats that he fully understands how this match works now. Staring the old man down, the delivery guy dares his rival to grab a new toy, swearing he'll smash whatever he throws at him. The older guy just stares at the busted stick in his hands, looking completely mind-blown. Unexpectedly, he lets out a quiet laugh as he processes how utterly crazy this situation is. Holding the broken pole, the guy admits that looking at the kid is exactly like looking in a mirror at his younger self, betting his life on street fights. Pulling the steel blade out of the broken wood, the driver confesses he has absolutely no clue how he actually survived those wild days. Right on cue, heavy footsteps echo as the blonde passenger jumps out of the truck and lands on the pavement. Walking toward the old man, the criminal gets his attention with a super sarcastic tone. The blonde kid orders the old man to grow a pair and help out in the fight instead of whining over nothing. Pointing his finger, the client insults the driver and demands a refund, super annoyed that he's taking orders when he's the one cutting the checks. Without any warning, the old man stabs the metal blade straight through the blonde kid's hand, pinning the guy directly to the side of the truck. While the criminal screams in pure agony, the guy calmly asks if the kid has ever worked a day in his life, guessing he was spoiled rotten. The driver complains that modern parents ruin their kids, saying it's a total joke for a healthy kid to not have a real job. Staring at the terrified blonde guy, the old man asks if he knows how to load and unload boxes, getting a stuttering yes as an answer. Away from the mess, the student screams the MC's name at the top of her lungs. The delivery guy instantly turns around to hear what his furious boss wants to say in the middle of the street. Boiling with anger, the girl tells him to drop the ego mid-fight and demands the kid act like the pro he claims to be. The girl warns the biker that fighting this guy with just his fists is a terrible idea, ordering him to fall back. Even so, the delivery guy ignores the advice and swears that throwing hands is literally his specialty. Annoyed by the backseat driving, Lee Sang tells his boss to never try and micromanage how he does his job. Watching them bicker, the driver readies a heavy, spiked metal club and mutters about how awfully the kid treats women. Without taking a single step back, the MC rushes in at full speed and literally pulverizes the metal weapon with a monstrous punch. The insane force of the hit completely destroys the spiked ball, sending metal shrapnel flying everywhere. Taking advantage of the opening, the old man smoothly spins what's left of the weapon and sets up a brand new sweeping attack across the ground. Suddenly, the guy's eyes bug out when he sees his rival closing in on him at ridiculous speed. With another picture-perfect strike, the delivery guy breaks another weapon, hearing his opponent ask in disbelief if he plans on breaking everything. Landing lightly on his feet, Lee Sang hears his rival admit that he actually respects the kid's hustle to finish the job. Staring at the smoke coming off the young guy's hand wraps, the driver wonders what the heck those freakish fists are made of. Right then, the rich kid pinned to the truck screams in terror, demanding the worker attack faster and stop giving the enemy breathing room. The client keeps throwing a tantrum, calling the old man an incompetent loser for failing to do his job right, telling him to figure it out. Having absolutely zero patience for the screaming, the driver warns in a super dark voice that things are going to get ugly if he gets interrupted again. The suit yells back, threatening to fire him, but gets violently silenced in that exact same second. Right after, the old man kicks a bunch of heavy cargo boxes out of the truck, while ranting about how kids today have zero guts. The heavy packages launch like actual missiles, flying at top speed straight toward the delivery guy. Moving insanely fast, Lee Sang blocks the flying boxes midair, using precise strikes to swat the danger away. Throwing a straight punch, the young guy punches clean through a cardboard box, completely vaporizing whatever was inside. Seeing the kid's crazy reflexes, the old man's eyes get even sharper and dead focused. Using the flying boxes as a smokescreen, the driver whips out a hidden steel pipe from the mess. Throwing his whole body weight into it, the guy brings the weapon down with brutal force in a heavy overhead swing. Without backing up an inch, the MC blocks the thick steel pipe using just his forearm. Even after eating the shockwave of the hit, the biker holds his ground and stares his rival down with pure ice in his veins. Faced with the kid's insane durability, the older worker clearly realizes just how much of a monster he's dealing with. Switching up his game plan instantly, the driver starts chucking even weirder tools at his opponent. With flawless reaction time, Lee Sang swats the weapons away with his bare hands, not showing a single drop of fear. Away from the brawl, the spoiled client tries to make himself as small as possible while stray debris dents the side of the truck. Kicking the fight into overdrive, the old man unleashes a non-stop barrage of flying weapons and heavy crates. Trapped in the middle of the heavy fire, the delivery guy defends himself against every flying object with speed that shouldn't even be real. Cutting through the air, the delivery guy's fierce punch blows through yet another package flying straight at his face. The old man, though, doesn't back off and kicks a massive, razor-sharp saw blade directly at the kid's chest. With an ear-splitting screech, the MC catches the spinning steel, slamming the weapon down into the cracked pavement. Seeing that absolutely none of his attacks are landing, the driver gets ready for his next deadly move. Using every ounce of muscle he has, the veteran hoists up a massive, heavy street sign to use as a weapon. A second later, he chucks a gigantic cinder block straight at the biker. Showing off some raw, brutal power, Lee Sang shatters the solid concrete block with a single punch without even blinking. A thick cloud of dust and rocks spreads across the street, while the kid stays planted in the exact same spot. Completely out of breath from the non-stop attack, the veteran starts cold sweating as he faces an actual freak of nature. Panting hard, the guy realizes with dread that his entire ammo stash is totally empty. Taking advantage of the quick timeout, the delivery guy casually takes off his busted helmet and announces he's adding it to the tab. Brushing back his sweaty hair, the kid states that it's time to settle the bill for his totally totaled motorcycle. Seeing the kid's face for the first time, the driver panics, suddenly remembering an old saying about how the cocky ones end up in a box the fastest. Absolutely haunted by the creepy coincidence, the worker takes off his own hat, shaking with anxiety. The memory instantly drags him 30 years into the past, back to when he was a show-off kid practically overflowing with ego. Back in the day, a veteran partner was yelling at the arrogant kid, telling him to stop going rogue and actually stick to the team's strategy. Even though they were only fighting one guy, the warning was super clear. They were up against a top-tier, extremely dangerous pro hitman. The cocky kid, however, just laughed at the warning, thinking the hired gun was a complete joke. Dripping with arrogance, he was 100% sure the enemy was just a coward who had zero actual combat experience. In the mind of that era's arrogant teenager, showing off was something only weak, talentless losers did. Real life, though, proved to be insanely brutal when his entire squad got wiped out with absolutely zero mercy. The only survivor watched in pure terror as the hitman responsible for the wipeout just stood there doing nothing. Staring at the completely broken kid, the monster sarcastically agreed that showing off was definitely for the weak. Grabbing the kid by the throat, the enemy admitted he was sick and tired of hearing people preach about how having an ego sends you to the grave. Flashing a deeply disturbing look, the hitman pointed out that, ironically, everyone who gave him that warning ended up passing away first. Showing how truly unhinged he was, he admitted he only spared the kid's life because he wanted someone breathing to talk to. Fading into the shadows, the guy suggested they both keep acting incredibly cocky just to prove they were right all along. Snapping back to the present, the old man remembers how he completely quit the fighting life right after that unforgettable traumatic nightmare. To stay alive, he threw away all his pride and started living under the radar, trying to dodge any kind of spotlight. That choice was purely driven by the suffocating fear of bumping into that crazy demon again somewhere down the line. For the last 30 years, the driver avoided attention like the plague, trying his hardest to erase that terrifying memory. Fate, however, played a cruel joke, dropping a kid who looks exactly like his worst nightmare right in front of him. The guy's survival instincts are practically screaming at him to turn around and run as fast as humanly possible. But the old man glues his feet to the broken street, fully aware that trying to fight this kid is way above his pay grade. The delivery guy just watches him calmly, making it obvious that starting a fight right now would be a totally pointless ego trip. Taking a deep breath, the worker swallows his fear and bravely drops back into his classic bare-knuckle fighting stance. Noticing his opponent's massive vibe shift, the delivery guy is actually super impressed by the sudden burst of guts. Deep down, the guy was bitterly asking himself if it was really worth spending the rest of his life acting like a total coward. Adjusting his hand wraps, he quickly realizes that getting old while constantly running from danger was never the life he actually wanted. Fueled by his last remaining shred of dignity, the driver charges into a suicidal sprint straight at the young fighter. Letting out a battle cry, he winds up a heavy strike, yelling that back in the day, he used to hit people like a truck too. Facing the desperate charge, Lee Sang smiles, hyping up the actual willpower the old guy is finally showing. Completely locked in and ignoring the fact that he's probably gonna lose, the old man puts every drop of energy he has left into his incoming attack. The power gap, though, is just way too massive, and the MC lands a flawless, devastating punch straight to the poor guy's face. Sent flying through the air like a ragdoll from the insane hit, the driver gets knocked out cold and hits the ground instantly defeated. Turning his back on the unconscious veteran, our hero calmly announces that the guy doesn't need to pay for the bike damages anymore. Since Lee Sang is about to cash a ridiculously huge check anyway, he says he's letting the debt slide just out of the goodness of his heart. Tied to the truck, the rich client starts screaming his head off, completely furious at the two teenagers. The delivery guy simply shoots a deadly glare right at the loudmouth trust fund kid. Grabbing the student by the sleeve, the kid orders the suit to not even think about moving a muscle. Ignoring the warning, the client brutally yanks the blade right out of his own hand. Panicking hard, the guy grabs for his smartphone and swears he'll stab the kid in the neck if he doesn't get an answer. Holding the sharp object, the rich kid gets into position to rush him. Wasting zero time, the delivery guy charges in and delivers a crushing headbutt straight to the enemy's face. Thanks to the brutal impact, the client drops his weapon instantly and completely loses his balance. The guy hits the pavement out cold, while the two teenagers just stare at the mess they made. Fixing his posture, the MC asks if the young girl seriously thought he'd jump into a fight without wearing some armor. The student stays totally quiet while listening to the kid flex about winning the one-on-one brawl. In the middle of the wrecked street, things finally quiet down after all that crazy chaos. Just to be safe, Lee Sang steps on the unconscious rich kid's head like it's just another Tuesday. Chilling out, the delivery guy admits he was a little scared, but praises the boss lady's reflexes and asks if she works out. The girl completely ignores the comment and keeps staring at the empty road. Scattered across the asphalt, the pieces of the stolen phones are totally beyond repair. The young guy notices the smashed devices and realizes things just got a whole lot more complicated. Trying to cover his tracks, he argues that hiccups happen in this line of work and nobody could have predicted that ambush. Plus, the MC points out that he was hired to throw hands, not to act as a bodyguard for a bunch of plastic. Right then, the student reaches out and firmly grabs the kid's finger. Super focused, the client inspects the merc's hand wraps right in the middle of the ruined street. Worried about the kid's condition, the girl asks straight up if he's okay after tanking so many heavy hits. Caught completely off guard by the random move, the delivery guy freezes up for a few seconds. Getting a little red in the face, Lee Sang swears he's perfectly fine and asks if she was actually worried about him. The boss lady lets out a heavy sigh of pure frustration, calling the biker an idiot for missing the point. Furious, the young girl yells that if he had broken his hands, their deal would have been instantly cancelled, telling him to stop acting like a total noob. Turning her back, she drops a final warning, swearing she'll fire him on the spot the next time he pulls a stunt like that. Chuckling nervously, the delivery guy follows the student, confirming he got the message loud and clear. Waking up from his nap, the old driver gives a nostalgic smile and tells the girl to go easy on her boyfriend. The guy actually thanks the biker for waking up the delivery spirit he buried a long time ago. As a token of respect, the older guy drops some wisdom, warning him that raw physical power alone isn't going to cut it down the line. Trying to stand up, the worker falls right back down and begs for help since he can't feel his body, but the client hits him with a hard nope. Ignoring the old man, the MC complains about his ruined ride and asks how they're supposed to get to the next gig. Lying on the pavement, the driver announces loud and clear that the two teens are definitely going to meet their maker. The veteran clarifies he's not trying to disrespect the duo's skills, but warns them that their names just got added to the emergency hit list. Focused on the news, Lee Sang immediately asks what that kind of bounty actually means. The student starts panicking, realizing their enemies moved way faster than she expected and totally wrecked her game plan. Annoyed at being ignored, the guy on the ground asks how the kid can even work as a merc without knowing the app's basic rules. Unlike regular requests, the old guy explains that an emergency bounty gets blasted out to every single cleaner at the exact same time. The reality of the situation hits the boss lady like a truck, while the driver warns them that they are currently sitting ducks. Using a super serious tone, the older guy swears the hitman will be hunting them 24/7 without taking a break. Hearing the breakdown, the delivery guy drops his head, completely hiding his face. But then the kid looks up with an absolutely unhinged smile, hyping up the fact that this setup is literally perfect. Clapping his hands like a little kid, the young guy cheers because now the fights are going to come right to him, and he gets paid for it. Walking through the pile of bodies, the kid hopes the next challengers are way stronger and asks the old man to join his squad. Letting out a weak laugh, the driver calls the kid crazy but instantly rejects the invite. The student walks right past the biker without looking, coldly stating that the old guy would never make the cut for her team anyway. Lying in the street, the older man notes that he's a professional and personal failings never mess with his business. Struggling a bit, the beaten worker tosses a weird item right into the middle of the road. A dog leash lands on the pavement, while the guy announces he has zero interest in joining a squad. The client shoots him a death glare when the veteran sarcastically hints he'd only let her join his team if she became his little pet. Settling into the cracked asphalt, the driver finally seems to accept the consequences of losing. Flashing a smile, he admits that if he were a little younger, he wouldn't hide how weirdly impressed he was by the student's fierce attitude. Sick of the super weird conversation, Lee Sang demands the girl drop the next location and complains about how bizarre everyone is acting. The girl walks past the knocked-out suit without a word, remembering they are short on time and still have one last spot to hit. Moving fast, the student tightens the dog leash around the spoiled client's neck. Holding the handle, she announces that since the phones are busted, this guy is going to be their backup hard drive. With a spiteful look in her eyes, the young girl swears she'll squeeze every single piece of data they lost right out of him. Dragged mercilessly by the leash, the rich guy groans while the girl promises to uncover every secret he's hiding. As evening falls, the setting sun lights up the massive city after a day filled with total chaos and brawls. Standing on the overpass, the delivery guy asks if this spot is actually the final level of the mission. The boss lady confirms it, but warns him that this is definitely going to be the hardest part of the run. Staring at the school entrance, the biker looks super annoyed that they ended up right back where they started. Furious about the wasted trip, Lee Sang complains they should have handled this earlier so he wouldn't wreck his perfect attendance streak. The girl defends her plan, arguing that starting a riot while students were still hanging around would have just caused unnecessary drama. Right behind them, the veteran driver mentions he managed to tie the prisoner up super tight, just like she asked. In the back of the truck, the rich client is wiggling around with his mouth taped shut, completely immobilized by thick ropes. The old man asks what his job is right now, and the student tells him to act as a meat shield if things go south. Finding the old guy's rejection hilarious, the delivery guy jokes about the 30-year age gap and tells the veteran to call him Big Bro. Checking out the school gates, the MC spots some red stains and realizes a nasty fight already went down here. Focused on the endgame, the young girl agrees with the delivery guy, keeping her face totally cold and calculating. Near the main entrance, a random delivery bike proves that a rival cleaner has already shown up. Right now, the duo's final target is the student council room up on the 5th floor of the quiet building. Looking at the school windows, the kid notices the lights were just on a minute ago, even though that room usually keeps the blinds shut. Walking down the hallway, the team guesses that someone beat them to the punch to stop their mission before they even got there. Looking dead serious, the student thinks out loud that maybe they are the actual targets of this ambush. But when they spot a silhouette at the end of the hall, they realize both theories are probably right on the money. The mysterious hitman complains about them being late, casually dropping that he already wiped out everyone in the student council room. Flipping up his helmet visor, the killer smiles and admits he got bored, so he decided to take out the other students around too. Baffled by the crazy behavior, the driver asks if this school even has a study hall since the place looked empty. Annoyed by the new guy's vibe, the older man complains about how he's just another punk ignoring the golden rules. Pointing his finger, the old man warns that taking out targets off the contract breaks the system's laws, which is why guys like him are considered trash. Suddenly, an insanely fast, blurry movement rips through the air straight toward the old man. The hitman strikes without mercy and slices the guy's arm clean off before anyone can even blink. Flipping his visor back down, the psycho orders the old guy to shut up and keep his dirty finger to himself. The shockwave sends the old man flying backward, while red liquid spills everywhere from his missing hand. Casually checking his phone, the killer says he has zero interest in hunting low-level trash and tells the crew to get out of his way. The guy admits he thought about taking everyone out right there, feeling insulted that he got called in just to catch a high school girl. Showing his screen, the hitman confesses that his whole mood changed the second he saw the target's photo. Flashing a creepy smile, he swears he was completely hyped to accept the job. The phone screen shows the student's profile, but zooms in on the blonde guy standing blurry in the background. It's totally obvious that the psycho's real prize was always Lee Sang himself. Launching forward at full speed, the guy in blue cruelly greets the delivery guy after such a long time apart. The intruder happily declares that they are old buddies who work the exact same side of the street. The maniac then completely bypasses the MC with unreal speed. In a fraction of a second, he teleports right behind the student, catching the duo completely off guard. Panicking over the setup, the young girl asks her blonde bodyguard if this lunatic is seriously his friend. She argues that she never heard about any ties like this and demands to know what the heck is going on. Keeping his cool, the MC clarifies that the guy isn't exactly a buddy, but something a little different. Right then, the boss lady's eyes go wide as she gets snatched by the super-fast enemy. The hitman grabs the girl from behind, completely trapping her right in front of Lee Sang. Finding it funny, the psycho sarcastically asks if the kid took a gig just to play bodyguard for his own girlfriend. Straight up, the blonde delivery guy shoots back that she's just his client and he's only here to collect his check. Holding his ground, the MC warns him that he's the real target here, ordering the guy to let the girl go and settle this in a one-on-one. Staring through his visor, the psycho just looks at the delivery guy without saying a word. Calling the offer garbage, the hitman violently yeets the student out of the way. Taking the free shot, the guy in blue rushes in and lands an incredibly heavy hit on Lee Sang. The impact is brutal, and the enemy mocks the kid for thinking he could actually protect someone else. Thanks to the raw power of the combo, the MC gets pushed back, sliding across the hallway floor. Meanwhile, the client slams into the wall and scrambles to get her balance back. The girl manages to plant her feet, somehow walking away from the aggressive throw without a scratch. Staring down his rival, the psycho asks if the blonde kid seriously forgot the true nature of their job. Flashing a sick smile, he brings up who they really are underneath it all. Pushing his buttons, the enemy asks what happened to all those people the delivery guy swore to protect back in the day. Hearing that, Lee Sang's expression drops into pure shock and total seriousness. The killer goes back on the offensive at max power, hyping up the unreal physical strength the kid still has. Without giving him a second to breathe, the guy in blue unleashes a crazy flurry of punches at the kid. But while blocking the storm of hits, Lee Sang mutters that he's still way faster and more accurate. Turning up the heat, the hitman admits he always wondered who would win in a fair fight between them. He claims the blonde kid vanished without a trace, just to play pretend as a happy, normal student. Laughing at the whole setup, the opponent swears that playing house is exactly what made the delivery guy so weak. Getting right in his rival's face, the psycho decides that this peaceful lifestyle doesn't match his true vibe at all. The maniac then formally invites Lee Sang to drop the act and come back to the underworld where he belongs. The student watches the intense trash talk while wiping the red liquid off her injured hand. With a sharp eye, the client spots the perfect window to jump in and make a play. Sneaking around, she makes a fast, super determined sprint straight into the brutal brawl. Catching everyone off guard, the young girl jumps with everything she's got and latches onto the rival merc's back. The hitman snaps his head around, super confused, having no idea where that random attack came from. The MC just stands there, watching his client's absolutely suicidal move in total silence. Thinking the whole thing is a joke, the psycho asks if the girl is trying to hit on him in the middle of a death match. He keeps laughing, acting super offended that she called him a handicap earlier. But the student squeezes the guy's head violently and demands he repeat that joke. Realizing the young girl has pure killer intent in her eyes, the psycho's eyes go wide in absolute shock. Moving with crazy speed, the student slaps her hands right over the enemy's helmet visor. With perfect aim, she totally blocks the visor, blinding the killer instantly. The hitman freaks out in the dark and starts cursing the girl out for the dirty trick. Taking full advantage of the flawless opening, Lee Sang winds up his fist with everything he has. Showing absolutely zero mercy, the blonde kid lands a devastating punch squarely on his blinded opponent's face. Checking out the damage, the MC admits the girl's strategy was actually pretty interesting and totally unpredictable. Out of breath from pushing herself, the student swears she is definitely not dead weight for anyone here. The delivery guy then violently grabs the knocked-out killer by his armored suit. Standing right behind him, the young girl ends the argument by dropping the fact that she's totally single. Down the hall, the old driver's missing hand is just chilling in the middle of the red-stained floor. Curled up on the ground, the older guy screams in pure agony from the brutal slice. Turning his head, the MC gets the wounded driver's attention. While holding the unconscious enemy, Lee Sang orders the old man to grab his own hand off the floor as fast as possible. Completely skeptical, the driver stutters, asking if there's even a chance they can reattach the missing piece. Moving as smoothly as he can, the kid promises he knows a perfect spot that handles this kind of crazy underground surgery. The MC asks the student what her game plan is now. She replies that they totally missed their window to find a working phone in this area. Dragging the knocked-out killer by his suit, Lee Sang notes that the guy looks sloppy but is actually a crazy perfectionist. The client agrees, guessing that if he targeted their pockets first, he'd definitely smash the phones of anyone else who saw him too. The delivery guy bets the student council room is totally wrecked, since this lunatic always leaves a massive mess. Turning her head, the young girl tells the delivery guy to back off, asking why he's acting so worried about her mental state. Totally disappointed, the young guy complains that the girl even whines when he's just trying to be nice. Pointing at the floor, the boss lady brings the focus back to the knocked-out maniac. She angrily asks if the biker seriously had the nerve to call this psycho his partner. The blonde kid mutters angrily that he already said the guy wasn't his partner, shutting up when she asks what exactly he is then. Giving the guy on the floor a light kick, the biker suggests that obsessed stalker is probably the best way to describe their relationship. The enemy wakes up instantly, taking extreme offense to that, making Lee Sang sigh since the guy is already conscious again. The MC explains they ran into each other at his last job, but the dude kept picking fights and stalking him, so he cut him off. Grabbing the blonde kid's ankle, the maniac swears a partner is someone who helps you out, while the delivery guy asks if he needs to put him back to sleep. Giving him a cold stare, the student warns him she'll gladly help with that. Without missing a beat, the biker warns that the girl messed with the wrong guy and that her target is seriously dangerous. The psycho laughs at the whole situation, asking if the blonde kid even realizes who he's teaming up with. He drops the bomb that she's the heir to Seongjeoncheol, the guy sitting at the very top of Korea's power ladder. Lee Sang just stands there looking completely clueless, which leaves the enemy totally speechless at his ignorance. The client simply tells the biker that this hitman is way above his pay grade. Even so, the killer smiles and suggests the young girl take a trip down to the Seongcheondong district. Super sarcastically, he tells her to go look for Yoonjian so she can maybe figure out who actually took out her dad. Enjoying the heavy silence from the duo, the maniac asks if that massive info dump was helpful. Suddenly, the student brutally stomps her shoe right onto the maniac's face. Crushing his head into the floor, the young girl angrily asks if this bottom feeder actually thinks he can just drop her family's name like that. Looking absolutely terrifying, the boss orders the guy to spill everything he knows before she finishes him off for real. But the enemy just laughs and instantly shoots her down, telling her to figure out the rest of the puzzle with her little boyfriend. Furious, she lifts the heavy bag to smack the psycho again. Instantly, Lee Sang grabs the girl's arm and seriously warns her that the guy has had enough of a beating for today. The hitman takes the chance to poke the bear, claiming the biker is only protecting her because he thinks they're the same. The MC shoots that down immediately, swearing the loser won't open his mouth to spill a single secret anyway. After all, the blonde kid knows exactly how this guy was trained, warning her that trying to beat him to a pulp will only end up breaking her own arm. Dropping some advice, the biker tells the girl she really needs to start thinking about their next move. After a few tense seconds, the student finally exhales and takes the biker's advice. Dropping the heavy bag, it hits the floor with a dull thud right in the middle of the hallway. Far away from there, the quiet night covers the busy streets of the Zhonghua area. A phone in the middle of a desk starts buzzing non-stop with an emergency alert. A woman's hand, covered in rings, picks up the device, checking out the fresh hit contract on the screen. Rocking some seriously high-end clothes, a mysterious female boss stares at the text glowing in the dark. Standing with her back to the window, she tells her guests that they just got a brand new set of orders. The woman notes the girl might actually be useful, so she orders her crew to bring her in alive and totally unharmed. As for the boy, the order is brutal: chop him into pieces and toss the leftovers to the dogs. Taking a fancy drag of her smoke, the boss tells her squad to handle the mess with style. Back at the school, the rich client gets strapped to the back of the delivery bike with his mouth totally taped shut. The hitman is tied up exactly the same way and mumbles about how much he hates the view. Tapping the side of the truck, Lee Sang double-checks the game plan with the old driver. While tying down the cargo, the veteran asks if his only job is to drop the two prisoners off at the location. The delivery guy explains that the place looks like a normal clinic from the outside and promises they'll take over once he gets there. The student warns the old man not to try anything funny on the way. Laughing at her paranoia, the driver reminds her he already got paid up front, so he has zero reason to start drama. The two teenagers watch the old guy's truck peel out safely onto the city streets. Pulling something out of his pocket, the biker looks at the item in his hands with a massive grin. It's the key fob to a super fancy motorcycle he just claimed as his prize. The girl catches on and reminds him his old bike got trashed, telling him to upgrade to the new ride right now. Wasting no time, the MC walks over to the sick bike parked near the school. Completely hyped over the luxury ride, the kid cheers, thinking his boss just bought him an epic gift. The girl, however, crushes his dreams instantly, revealing that the bike actually belongs to Bei Minjun, the psycho. She explains that she swiped the keys off the killer the exact second he grabbed her from behind. The timing was absolutely flawless right in the middle of the crazy hand-to-hand brawl. Wrapping things up, the MC officially clocks out for the day and praises how well they teamed up. Hopping on the bike, the blonde complains that his rival has terrible taste in motorcycles, and riding this thing is embarrassing. With the girl chilling on the back seat, the duo cruises down the dark streets in total silence. Pulling up to an intersection, the delivery guy announces he is way too exhausted to drive her all the way to her place right now. He tells her to finish the trip by herself, which makes her question why he's bailing so suddenly. Straight up, the young girl suggests they just crash at his place for the night. The delivery guy goes into total shock and freezes after hearing that completely wild suggestion. Absolutely terrified, the blonde yells, demanding to know what the heck she's talking about and why she wants to go to his house. Letting out a tired sigh, the student calls him an idiot and reminds him her penthouse got completely wrecked last night. She argues that staying in a compromised spot is suicide and tells him she's assuming she has a target on her back 24/7. Pointing his finger, the MC asks what kind of crazy logic this is, but she fires back that it's literally in the contract he signed. The boss lady reminds him he swore to stay by her side non-stop, no matter how weird things got. Keeping her serious face, she tells the biker not to act like he conveniently forgot that rule. Backed into a corner, the delivery guy starts cold sweating as he clearly remembers the hardcore promise he made a few hours ago. Accepting his fate, the young girl slaps the back of the seat and tells him to start the engine. Seeing his boss getting totally comfortable, the delivery guy complains, asking if she even realizes what this means. The delivery guy asks if a girl going alone to a guy's house understands how complicated that actually is. Looking at his client, he asks if she is 100% sure that absolutely nothing is going to happen between them. Showing zero fear, the student calmly admits that it's impossible to know that for sure. Right after, she casually dares him to just keep driving, Sitting on the back of the bike, the girl repeats her order for him to just go and do whatever he feels like doing. She swears that if it helps them crush their next missions together, she's totally cool with it. Hit with that wild response, the kid goes completely mute, having no idea how to reply. Stressed out by the vibe, Lee Sang grips the handlebars tight and mutters in pure frustration. Turning his head, the kid tries to hide his panic, loudly claiming she's definitely not his type anyway. Plus, he lets her know his place only has one pillow and one blanket, telling her she'll just have to deal with it. With the argument settled, the biker puts the key in the ignition and fires up the luxury ride. Cruising through the city, the young guy makes a point to mention his place doesn't even have a bidet. A little while later, the duo finally pulls up to the totally average building where the Merc crashes at night. Once inside, the MC throws himself on the floor, totally wiped out, and casually scrolls through his phone. But he instantly drops a curse word when he sees his crypto portfolio has tanked almost 100%. Holding his phone, the kid complains that his stomach is actually cramping from all the stress. In the exact same room, the student is sitting on the floor, hugging her knees. The client stays totally quiet, curled up in the corner of his super basic apartment. Looking at the girl, he mutters to himself that she really only got into his house because he let her. In his head, the memory of her daring him to keep driving keeps playing on repeat, messing with his focus. The kid also remembers the exact second she told him to do whatever he wanted. Hiding his face in his arm, Lee Sang wonders if this is exactly how a mental breakdown starts. Lying on the floor, the delivery guy totally regrets letting the wrong person into his life. He promises himself he's going to dip the second he cashes that final mission check. While the kid is internally losing his mind, the girl just stays leaning against the wall, completely silent. Trying to shake off the weird thoughts, the biker smacks his own head, telling himself to focus on the bag. Checking out the food delivery app, the young guy tries to convince himself he's just acting weird because he's starving. Seeing that the food is 5 minutes away, the student randomly drops that she actually likes seasoned chicken better. She complains that she was going to pick a different dish, but the guy tells her the order is already on the way. Completely mind blown, the MC asks if it's true this is her first time ever eating delivery chicken. The young girl explains she's had fried chicken before, but only because their private chef was a total pro. She spills that her dad never allowed apported food, so they strictly ate home-cooked meals every single day. Despite the strict rule, the student admits she absolutely loved that family tradition. The thing she loved most was that her dad always came home to eat with her. Across the luxury city, the giant skyscrapers light up the dark night in the high-end district. The boss lady remembers one specific day when her dad texted her that he wouldn't make it home for dinner. That exact same night, the maid had an emergency, leaving the girl totally alone in the massive penthouse. Watching TV, the girl saw a dish that looked insanely good on the screen. Craving it, she hyped herself up and ordered her very first app delivery, completely alone, exactly 24 months ago. A little bit later, the doorbell echoed through the super quiet house. Through the intercom, a weirdly muffled voice announced from outside that the delivery was here. Super excited about trying something new, the girl answered the intercom immediately, saying she was on her way. Suspecting absolutely nothing, she unlocked the front door and asked the delivery guy to wait a second. Opening the door, the student saw a mysterious delivery guy standing perfectly still in the dim hallway. Her excitement, though, vanished instantly, turning into pure, absolute terror at the sight of her guest. On that terrible night, the delivery guy stood there holding the food bag, his face completely hidden by his helmet. On the biker's chest, a weird symbol glowed faintly under the fancy hallway lights. Snapping back to the present, the student stares at Lee Sang and asks if he seriously thinks all this is just a coincidence. Looking incredibly stressed, the young girl relives the trauma of that awful day in her own head. She drops the heavy truth that her first experience ordering food ended with a blade covered in red liquid. Making it even worse, the client swears that was the exact moment her dad was brutally taken out. Locking eyes with the kid, the girl guarantees the hidden hitman from that night looked exactly like him. Squinting, the client makes it crystal clear she doesn't believe for a second that this is just fate messing around. Hearing the straight-up accusation, the MC stands up, letting the gravity of her confession sink in. Sweating cold, the biker mutters in pure frustration as he realizes just how deep into the mud he really is. The delivery guy heavily regrets everything, figuring out that this mission just turned into an absolute nightmare.